stylish and elegant Whitehaven Mansions, Poirot's legendary Art Deco headquarters. Old Cataract Hotel in Egypt, where the events of the death on the Nile unfolded. The iconic hotel in Istanbul from the murder on the Orient Express, and other stately homes in England and abroad inspired Agatha Christie in her detective mysteries. These magnificent estates are not just settings for captivating whodunits. They are characters themselves, harboring secrets, scandals and stories that have left readers and viewers spellbound for generations. Some of them exist even today and can be visited by anyone who loves the books and their TV series adaptations. Watch this video to learn more about these iconic destinations that have set the stage for Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. Without further ado, let's go straight to Poirot's famous headquarters in London, the Whitehaven Mansions. You may remember that after the war, Poirot became a private detective and began undertaking civilian cases. He moved into what became both his home and work address, flat 56B Whitehaven Mansions, in the 1930s. Hastings first visits the flat when he returns to England in June 1935 from Argentina in the ABC Murders Chapter 1. According to Hastings, it was chosen by Poirot entirely on account of its strict geometrical appearance and proportion, and described as the newest type of service flats. I think that I've mentioned in one of my previous videos about Poirot that the TV producers agreed that they would place all Poirot-related events in one decade, the 1930s. Well, simply for the case of convenience and consistency. Imagine how costly and obviously more complicated it would be if they tried to adapt everything with each and every episode.
The wrong address.
Monsieur Hercule Poirot, White Horse Mansions, not known at White Horse Mansions, not known at White Horse Court, try Whitehaven Mansions.
So, in the series, we are always in the 1930s, except for some rare memory recollections of the characters, of course. And so must be the exterior of the house and the interior of the detective's flat. And what was the dominant and the most modern and fashionable style back in the day? Exactly, Art Deco or Art Deco, with its refined lines, geometric forms and clean curves and forms, a sort of bridge from its Art Nouveau predecessor. Alas, there was no exact prototype of the Whitehaven Mansions in London in Christie's times, so the series producers had the liberty of picking the prototype of Poirot's HQ on their own. And they chose the looks of Florine Court, located in Charterhouse Square in London Borough of Islington to the northeast of London. This building was built in 1936, and the unusual curve of the facade had quite a practical reason, apart from being beautiful by itself. This U-plan of the building gave views over Charterhouse Square to as many rooms as possible. At the same time, in a TV documentary, Being Poirot, Suchet revealed that this building was chosen not for its location, but because of its symmetry.
He chose this particular block of flats, not because of its location or anything, but because it's symmetrical, and that for Poirot was la crème de la crème.
Florine Court has 9 floors with 120 flats. They also have a swimming pool, a sauna, a gym, accessible to all residents. And yes, sometimes the flats there go on sale and could be rented, I suppose. So you have a chance to literally live inside Poirot's house.
You better watch your step, lads. This is where the famous private detective Mr. Hercule Poirot lives.
However, don't expect to find Poirot's refined Art Deco interiors and spacious floor plans. Most of the flats there are small studios, although there are some 1- and 2-bedroom apartments too. So no wonder the exquisite setting for the detective nest / office was built in film studio premises.
How would a little trip down the Nile suit you?
There's nothing I would dislike more. There's 2 things in the world I can't abide. It's heat and heathens.
Good. Then we'll go.
What a splendor it must be, this hotel, which became one of the key settings of the iconic Death on the Nile. And as opposed to Whitehaven Mansions, it had a prototype from real life. I was pleasantly surprised to find Christie's own recollections about this place in her memoirs. Cairo, from the point of view of a girl, was a dream of delight. We spent there 3 months and I went to 5 dances every week. They were given in each of the big hotels in turn. Indeed, the old Cataract Hotel and then just Cataract Hotel was built back in 1899 by Thomas Cook to house European travelers, mostly British, to Aswan. Apart from Agatha Christie, then a teenager, it hosted Tsar Nicholas II, Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, Princess Diana, and lots of other presidents and dignitaries from across the globe. So the scenes from the Death on the Nile, where beautifully dressed guests of the highest caliber dance in its gorgeous dance hall, are not so far from reality. It is particularly soothing to know that this 1978 film with Peter Ustinov, my favorite screen adaptation of this book, was filmed precisely there at the old Cataract Hotel. Luckily, the hotel still exists today. It underwent a complete restoration and reopened as the Sofitel Legend Old Cataract Aswan Hotel. I dream of staying there one day and then going on a cruise on the Nile. Murder is not part of the program, of course, yet who knows?
Shortly I'm going up the Nile on the steamer. And you?
The same, oddly enough.
Oh. In other words, you're following one of the passengers.
No. Seulement les vacances, mon ami.
Oh?
Like yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, setting out on a voyage with the famous Orient Express, that very old one, if possible, is another point in my dream travel itinerary. By the way, that very train, the stylized version I suppose, is still circulating there. Now you have to pay about $5,000 to repeat the trip of Poirot or Agatha Christie herself, who traveled on the Orient Express for the first time in 1928. She was originally planning to travel to the Caribbean, but changed her destination after dining with 2 acquaintances who were living in Baghdad. During a layover in Istanbul, she stayed at the Pera Palace Hotel. Moreover, she is said to have written part of Murder on the Orient Express there.
Well, Mr. Perot?
Poirot.
How's that?
Poirot.
Oh, Perot, right.
The oldest European hotel in Turkey, it was built in 1892 to host the passengers of the Orient Express specifically. Luckily, it also survived to our day. Its building is included in the Protected Cultural Heritage of Turkey. All that means you and me can actually stay in that hotel for a special occasion. Moreover, one can see that very room 411, which is now dedicated to Agatha Christie, although I'm not sure that it is indeed the room she stayed in. The room has pictures of her and many copies of her books there, and the legend says that she was writing her Orient Express precisely there. Now let's move back to England. Agatha's childhood memories, personal experiences, and even her own houses inspired the location settings of many of her murder mysteries. Take Abney Hall, a beautiful Victorian manor built in 1848. Agatha used to spend their holidays when a child and a teenager, and then visited it regularly enough, since her elder sister Madge became the mistress of this house, marrying into the Watts family. That's what Agatha told herself in her autobiography. We spent Christmas at Abney Hall with the old Wattses and their 4 children and Jack. He was Agatha's nephew, the son of her sister and James Watts. It was a wonderful house to have Christmas in if you were a child. Not only was it enormous Victorian Gothic, with quantities of rooms, passages, unexpected steps, back staircases, front staircases, alcoves, niches, everything in the world that a child could want, but it also had 3 different pianos that you could play, as well as an organ. All it lacked was the light of day. It was remarkably dark, except for the big drawing room with its green satin walls and its big windows. Abney became Agatha's greatest inspiration for country house life, with all the servants and grandeur that have been woven into her plots. Descriptions of the fictional styles, chimneys, stony gates, and other houses in her stories are mostly Abney in various forms. Moreover, she wrote 2 stories from there: the novel After the Funeral and the short story The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding.
Merci, madame.
You don't like Christmas pudding, Mr. Poirot?
Au contraire, I am inordinately fond of the plum pudding.
As I've already mentioned, the hall was also used as a basis for chimneys, a country house and seat of the fictional Marquesses of Cairo in The Secret of Chimneys. It made to the screens with the addition of Miss Marple, played by Julia Mackenzie. It was also featured in the 7 Dials mystery and the subsequent 2-hour movie from 1980, which is said to be extremely faithful to the plot. Another English country house, the Greenway Estate, went even further and not only inspired the books and later the screen productions, but actually became a setting for one of the series episodes with Poirot.
No, you're trespassing! You can't come through here, do you understand? The youth hostel is that way! This is private land! Hop it!
First of all, Greenway in South Devon was Agatha Christie's own beloved holiday home, which she bought in 1938 as a substitute for her old family home in the same Torquay. An ideal house, a dream house, that's how she used to talk about it. Interestingly, the house was occupied by the British Army during the years of the Second World War. When I left Greenway, I felt sure that it would be bombed and that I would never see it again, but luckily all my presentiments were wrong, wrote Christie. Greenway was untouched. Well, 14 lavatories were added instead of the larder, and I had to fight the Admiralty to take them away again.
Come at once. Nurse House, Devon. Need help. Urgent. Ariadne Oliver.
Greenway is featured in several books, including The ABC Murders and The 5 Little Pigs. Yet, most amusingly, you can actually see the real Christie's Greenway in the Dead Man's Folly episode, which, apart from Poirot, features Ariadne Oliver. Learn more about her, the supposed alter ego of Christie herself, in my dedicated video.
What is wrong, Mother?
Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to see if someone would come. How loudly one might have to shout. These woods are frightfully dense.
I thought you were in danger.
Certainly not.
In the TV adaptation, the house and its grounds certainly became characters on their own. The garden, the boathouse, the woods and the tennis court where Ariadne Oliver placed the real clues for the murder hunt All that was so dear to Christie's heart, so I guess this may add up an extra layer of pleasure when you decide to rewatch this episode. What's more, you can even pay a visit to the place and see it all in the flesh. The house and gardens are open to the public, being now part of the English heritage. And to wrap up this video, let's now fly over the Atlantic for a holiday in the Caribbean together with our dear Miss Marple. This time the sleuth takes a holiday to the fictitious island of Saint-Henri, where she stays at the Golden Palm Hotel. Well, the names are fictional, yet this place really exists. A Caribbean mystery was shot on location at the Coral Reef Hotel in Barbados, where Christie stayed during her visit to the country in 1958, and which had been the inspiration for the setting of the novel.
Knitting before breakfast? Oh, well, yes, I suppose I was, really. But you know, in England, it'd be 11 this time. Late 11s.
Owners Budge and Cynthia O'Hara were the inspirations for the characters in the novel. They still own the hotel 30 years later when the episode with John Hickson was filmed, and were able to share the treasure trove of Christie memorabilia with the cast. By the way, the hotel is still family owned, and they've done a brilliant job of keeping the spirit of the time there. I particularly cherish these overseas episodes. They adapt the taste of holidays and lands of eternal summer and warm up rainy autumn evenings. Would you agree? And what a treat to actually see the place the author visited and penned herself. An extra layer of immersion in the story.
Oh, yeah.
Mom.
What is your favorite Poirot's or Marple's murder mystery location? We'll be thrilled to learn more about it in the comments. Meanwhile, check out my other Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes related videos. Next time, I think we'll fly over to New York and discover the iconic mansions that made the Gilded Age gilded. So yeah, stay tuned and have a great day, evening or night ahead. Bye!